Okay, so I'm back for the next section. So what I've done here is I've got the embroidery threads that came in the kit and I've just tried to match up the colours. So here I've got some purples. So this one here looks like a pretty good match for that end one there. So that is going to be this kind of colour here. So that's going to kind of be in there like that. Then the next one, let me just put these there. So that's that one. Then we want these two as well. So I've got this colour, but it's a little bit light. So I've just mixed in some of this colour. Got a little thread in there. And that came out this colour. So I think that's quite a good match for the second one. And then we've got this kind of like very pale lilac. So I don't seem to have anything that kind of colour. It's quite pale blue in a way. So I've got this pale blue and like a very pale purple. So I've mixed those together to give us this colour. So I think that's a pretty good match for those. Not that they have to be exact, but I'm just trying to kind of do as best I can with this. And then we've got this darker one here as well. So I think if I take a little bit of this one and a little bit of the kind of bluey purple, that might be a nice mix for those two. I'll just tear those apart in my fingers to blend. And yeah, I think that's quite a good colour match for that one. If you can see that. They kind of look different on the screen to how they look to me. So these might not actually look the same to you. But they're a pretty good match in person. So I'm going to go with those colours. And if ever you're mixing colours and you want to sort of remember what you've done, then you can always do a little swatch so that you can remember what colours you've used. I think I'll probably remember. Ask me later, I might have forgotten. But we will give it a go. And I think I'm trying to decide whether to go over the lines because I think it might be more difficult to maintain the lines. But we'll see. I'll just see how we go. I'm going to start with these block bits that don't really require the lines or much of the lines visible. And then we'll come on to the lighter colours after. So this colour is this one. So I'm going to start with that, fill in that. So we're just going to do exactly the same as we did with the black. This isn't quite the same wool because I just had to kind of go with what I'd got. So it might be a little bit fluffier, this wool. So I'll see how I go. But I'm just going to sort of tease out, oops, folding it in half, and then I'm just teasing out the end so that I can fill in that gap. So I'm just stretching the wool. And all of these little bits. Bring that all the way up the edge. Now I don't want to cover my black outline, so I'm just going to be quite intentional. I might have to redo the black at some point. I'm just going to try not to go too close there. and we're just going to leave this line somewhat visible to do our embroidery. As it stands at the moment, I'm kind of anticipating the embroidery will be last, because once it goes into the hoop, it's going to be a bit more challenging to try and get the felting done. So we'll just do it like that. So I'm going to fill in all the bits that are the same colour according to this picture. So the next section is this middle one. And we've got two little lines visible there. If I can preserve them, I will, but I'm not sure that's going to be the easiest, so we'll just see. So when you work in a little area like this, I just like to tease the fibres down with my needle, or sort of kind of separate them. Walk them down a little bit. And because I want to preserve that black line, just try to keep that edge quite straight. Just stab at a little angle to preserve our line. Possibly the black would have been easier to kind of do as an outer finishing edge. But at the same time, I like how the black looks. So it's quite nice to kind of have that stark outline already, just to set us off. I think I am just going to cover those lines. I think from this picture I'll be able to work out where they're supposed to be and just kind of go off that. This is kind of a similar thing when you're doing any portrait where you've marked a lot of the details. So for instance, with pet portraits, there comes a point you've got to decide how much detail you're going to put on your outline, because as you're felting, inevitably there are going to be sections where you're going to need to cover. So for instance, when you're putting in sections for like curly hair, for example, or even just the shading on the hair, so if you've got sort of ears that have got little dangly lines, I do tend to mark those on, but there does come a point sometimes when you're felting and you kind of have to decide whether to just felt over it and leave a rough gap, or to just try and preserve the line and felt around the lines. And it's kind of just something that you'll pick up as you go. And sometimes I might decide actually not to put in so much detail, but there are some things that I do like to mark on. Like if I was to have done this outline myself, I possibly wouldn't have marked all these little lines, because I would know that it would be too difficult to felt over those really. The only way you could do it, maybe, well, this probably would be a back to front way of doing it, is you could mark the lines in a dark colour, then felt over the top, so that then you'd see the outline coming through, and then you could go over and do it in the right colour on top. So that could be a way of doing it. But with something like this, I probably would just leave them off. I might leave these larger sections on, maybe even the dots, if it's important as to where they go. So the ovals I'd probably leave on, but I'm not sure about the rest of it. And as far as the flowers go, I'd keep obviously some of the details in, but probably wouldn't mark all of the lines that we've got on here. Yeah, like these smaller flowers don't have as many markings on, so I probably would have just marked it like that, maybe put the important ones on if necessary. So it just kind of comes with practice and what you feel comfortable with. So now I'm going to put in this brighter colour. Actually, I think this one is also the same colour. So I might put that one in. Now what's interesting on this one here is you can see some of this purple in here. They kind of like blended the colours. So potentially when I'm doing that section, maybe don't need to put so much of this on. So I'll perhaps go a little bit thinner with my wool where the line's going to go, so that can just blend a little more easily with the embroidery thread, whereas these ones are going to be white, so they'll be standing out a lot more. If you can see on camera now, getting a little bit fluffy around here. So I'm just going to pull out some of those stray fibres. You can also have some snips handy if you've got very sort of fluffy wool that's going to be contaminating your other colours surrounding it. Can be just handy to snip those off, but if you can pull them, then you can do that. Sometimes when you try and pull though, it will actually pull off what you've already felted, so that's the reason it can be sensible to just cut it instead. So yeah, as I said, this is just like an experiment. If I were to do it again, I probably would make sure that I'd got all the right colours in nicer wool. So I'd probably do it all in the Sweet Pea Dolls wool, or possibly some Maori wool. I think for something like this, where you want that kind of sleek look, the fast felting wool from Sweet Pea Dolls is really lovely. Now I'm going to move on to this bright colour. these bits in. So a little white fibre and then I'm going to pull out. So I'm going to preserve these ovals and circles. Probably not going to preserve the lines. Pull that back to fill in those bits. Definitely, if I was doing this again, I would leave the outline of the black until after, especially these thin ones, because what's happening is it's making it hard to preserve the line. I don't want to lose that, so I may end up having to just go over them again, which is kind of what you don't want to do if you can help it, because then you're just doing the same thing twice for no reason. I'm going to fold that end so that it's not so fluffy, and just roll it and then bring it down. Roll that, take out that stray fibre, move that over. Roll another little section, and right up to that circle but not into it. And then just tuck in these bits on the outside. And then just one little bit in the middle. Roll that. Just bring it through there. What's quite forgiving with a kit like this is that butterflies are a lovely, lovely thing to do it in any craft, but felting is lovely. The thing that, if you're doing a realistic butterfly, the thing that some people can kind of worry about or struggle with is getting two wings identical. Whereas obviously with a kit like this, because it's landed on the flowers, you've only got to do half of the wings, so you've not got that problem about matching up the second wing. If I was doing a butterfly with two wings, which if you've seen my butterfly workshop, you'll have seen this in there. I actually, when I'm doing the outline, I'll fold the piece of paper in half and cut it out to make sure that both sides are matching before I actually do that. And then I would kind of do the sections to match. So I would do this bottom section, then I would do the bottom section over here, and just keep matching it up as I go to make it a little bit easier. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend some of this colour like it's going to be with the thread here. I'm just going to put some of that brighter colour just on this inside bit. Just so that it kind of makes for that nice transition when we come to do the thread. Realising the way it looks on camera is a little bit different. So I'm just going to go over that bit there again. Always just fluff up the fibres slightly with your needle just to take out any needle holes when you're working. I do that quite frequently. So there's our kind of base for, I'm not sure why that looks a different colour on the camera. Kind of all looking the same colour to me, but I know it doesn't look like that. It's a little bit better. Might be because I mixed the wool, so the pigments are just kind of showing up different on camera. So then I'm going to do this section in this brighter wool. And we'll see if I can preserve these bits because they're a little bit thicker than a line. So I might start at the back there. Just pull out some. Then I will start with the outline. I think you've even got some little white line here and at the top here. I need to put these in a note, but I'll just mark it anyway. And just put those fibres back with my needle. And then that space. the best job there at preserving those ones. Let me just there we go. I can just about see that through there. Actually thinking about it, that's probably what I could see there was the line, so I've just gone over and covered them again. Whenever you get stray fibres, you can just leave them in, just felt over them. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of debris in your wool, depending on how processed it is. That's just completely normal, so you can just pick it out. Just felt over the top of it, whatever's easier, whatever kind of effect you want to go for is fine. There we go. So that's how that's looking. So we've felted in this bit, this bit, this bit, this bit, and this bit. And the rest of that is like a lighter colour on the wing.